A Marine captain's hand closed around her wrist. Firm, authoritative, final. But when her sleeve slid up, he stopped cold. Black ink, a dagger, two serpents coiled tight, ironclad. August 9th, 2005. A date every combat Marine knows. Except him. He didn't realize who he was detaining, the quiet medic, whose actions kept an entire squad alive under fire. The woman whispered about in after-action reports as the Angel of Ironclad. She came only to watch her son graduate. But that tattoo changed everything. This is the story of Margaret Cole and the captain who made the biggest mistake of his career. Before we begin, tell us where are you watching from, and if you believe honor and courage still matter, help keep their legacy alive. The camera opens on heat shimmering above a parade deck in South Carolina. Rows of new Marines stand locked in formation, motionless under the morning sun. Families fill the grandstands, waving small flags, whispering, searching for their sons. Walking along a side path, away from the crowd, is Margaret Cole, mid-40 seconds, hair pulled back, blue top, simple jeans. She moves with a calm confidence that doesn't draw attention but doesn't hide either. Today is her son's day. Eric Cole, Platoon Delta 312, graduation morning. She holds a folded visitor pass in her hand, not shaking, not nervous. She just wants a closer view of the parade deck before the ceremony begins. She steps toward a narrow access lane, quiet, empty, edging the barracks. A Marine officer suddenly blocks her way. Tall, clean lines, crisp uniform. His name tape, Hale, Captain Ryan Hale. Young enough to still believe every rule is absolute. Old enough to think he enforces them perfectly. Mom, this area is restricted. His voice is flat. Absolute. A door closing. Margaret stops, offers a polite nod. I understand, Captain. I just wanted a closer look. My son is graduating today. Captain Hale doesn't return the warmth. His eyes move over her like a scanner. Hair, clothes, bag, posture. He reads nothing unusual, and that irritates him. Civilians should look lost here. She doesn't. That may be, he says, but you're not authorized for this path. The family section is behind the grandstands. He gestures without looking. Margaret turns slightly, ready to walk back, but he steps again, blocking her with the smallest shift of his boots. A subtle reminder. He gives directions. She follows them. I need to see your visitor pass, he adds. She hands it to him. No rush. No defensiveness. Hale lifts the pass toward the sun as if checking for a hidden watermark. He studies the photo, then her face. Photo, face, slow, excessive, performative. Margaret Cole, he reads. And you're here for recruit, Eric Cole. She nods once, but Hale's expression stays hard, suspicious without reason, the kind of suspicion that grows not from threat but from ego. This installation is secure, he says. I'm sure you can appreciate that. I can, Margaret replies. I was posted here for a short time, years ago. That catches him, but only for a second. His jaw tightens. Posted? As what? A contractor, she answers simply. No. Her calm bothers him more than any wrong answer could. He hands back the pass, but not her dignity. His tone sharpens. Mom, your presence here is concerning. I'll need to see government ID. People passing on the main walkway slow down. A few glance over. Nothing dramatic yet, but they see tension. A stiff officer, a woman staying calm. Phones hover in pockets. Margaret opens her wallet and gives him her driver's license. Hale inspects it with exaggerated care. He checks the date of birth, the address, the hologram. He compares her face again, leaning in for too long. A small breath leaves Margaret, not anger, not fear, just quiet exasperation. She's seen this performance before, authority stretching itself just to fill space. Why were you on this path? Hale asks suddenly. His voice has that edge young officers get when they think they've uncovered something. This lane leads to barracks, not viewing areas. I made a mistake, she says. I'll go back. I'm not convinced. He motions to a young lance corporal nearby. "Marine, stand by. Possible non-compliance." The young Marine freezes in place, unsure but obedient. A few families glance over more openly now. Something is happening. Something embarrassing. Margaret straightens slightly. "Captain, I heard your instructions. I am complying. There's no need to escalate." Hale steps closer. "It's procedure," he says, "and your attitude isn't helping." Without warning, he reaches out and takes her forearm, firm, authoritative, guiding her the way he's trained to move uncooperative civilians. The moment his fingers close around her wrist, the sleeve of her blue top slides up just an inch. Just enough. A small section of ink becomes visible. Black, precise. A dagger. 2 serpents coiling tightly. Letters beneath it. Ironclad. AUG 0905. Hale freezes. Not fully understanding, just sensing something is off. The lance corporal swallows. The nearby families quiet. For a half-second, Margaret's face shifts. Not fear, not anger, just a deep, private stillness. A memory flickers behind her eyes, gone as fast as it appears. Hale doesn't see the memory, but he sees the tattoo. And for the first time, he hesitates. A faint breeze moves across the parade deck. Flags ripple. Drums rehearse in the distance. The day continues. But something underneath it has changed. Hale still holds her arm. Margaret looks at him and says, quietly, "Captain, you should let go." Captain Hale doesn't release her arm right away. His grip loosens, but his hand stays there, hovering between certainty and doubt. His eyes linger on the tattoo, unsure what he's looking at, yet suddenly aware it might be something he shouldn't ignore. Margaret doesn't pull away. She simply holds her ground. The air around them tightens, like the moment before a storm breaks. Hale finally steps back half an inch. Not enough to apologize, just enough to regain control. "What is that?" he asks, trying to sound official, failing to hide uncertainty. "It's old," Margaret replies. "From another life." Her voice is calm, but firm enough to signal the boundary he crossed. Behind them, the lance corporal shifts uncomfortably. Hes young, 18, maybe 19, and suddenly aware that this situation might be above his pay grade. He looks at the tattoo, then at Hale, then at the gathering crowd. Hale tries to reset the moment. "Mom, the markings on your arm don't change the fact you're in a restricted area." His tone strains, caught between arrogance and confusion. Margaret lifts her arm, pushing her sleeve back down. "Captain, if you want to talk about procedures, we can. But you're escalating something that doesn't need escalation." The path grows quieter. A few parents on the walkway begin filming, not to provoke, but because their instincts tell them something is unfolding. 70 yards away, Master Gunnery Sergeant Stone Barnes is directing family groups toward the bleachers. His boots hit the pavement in steady rhythm. His eyes scan everything. Spacing, posture, potential hazards. Years of deployments have tuned him to notice the slightest ripple. And then, he sees it. Not the confrontation, not the tension, but the tattoo. A flash of black ink glinting beneath a pushed-up sleeve. The shape, dagger, and serpents locks onto his memory instantly. His stride stutters. His breath catches. Then his entire body sharpens like a weapon clearing a holster. Barnes knows that symbol. He saw it once in Ramadi. On the arm of a medic Hode pulled 3 Marines from a collapsed schoolhouse. A mark carried only by a handful from Operation Ironclad. Men told stories about Doc Cole in hushed tones, the way people talk about someone who did the impossible and walked away. Barnes doesn't waste a second. He pivots off the walkway, steps behind a pillar, and pulls out his phone. His fingers move with precision, dialing a number he never uses unless it's critical. The line clicks. "Sergeant Major, this is Barnes. I need your attention immediately." A pause. "No, sir. Not a threat." Another pause. "It's her. I think it's Doc Cole." In the command center across the depot, a sergeant major straightens from his desk. His voice drops low. "You're certain?" Barnes glances again at the tattoo. "As certain as I've ever been, sir." Inside the command building, a chain reaction begins, quiet, fast, intentional. A colonel is located. A conference door shuts. A terminal awakens. Someone pulls archived personnel files from a secure database. A younger version of Margaret appears on a monitor Navy uniform. Set jaw, clear eyes, then awards, dates. Reports from the 9th of August, 2005. The record glows on screen like a strike of lightning. Combat Valor Medal, multiple casualty saves, severe fire engagements, ironclad task group, survived collapse of Building 6, shielded Marines with her own body. Back at the path, Hale still doesn't know what tidal wave is forming around him. He keeps his shoulders squared, pretending the situation is under control. A brittle confidence wraps around him like thin armor. "Mom," he says, "I'm going to escort you back to the grandstands. You're interfering with an operational zone." Margaret meets his eyes. "I wasn't interfering. I was walking. You turned it into something else." Hale's jaw tightens. "Don't make this harder than it already is. It's only hard because you're pushing it," she says softly. No anger, just truth. For a moment, Hale seems ready to snap again, ready to prove authority, ready to show the crowd he's in control. His hand twitches toward the radio on his chest, but then a memory hits him. Uninvited, sharp, a distant voice, somewhere from training. A lecture, a story told by an instructor at Quantico, a medic running through dust and gunfire, a female corpsman dragging 2 wounded infantrymen out of a burning stairwell, a name whispered like a myth. He blinks. The pieces don't connect yet. But the echo tightens around his ribs. Margaret sees the confusion flicker across his face. She doesn't exploit it. She simply waits, steady and silent. Drums begin warming up near the parade deck. The ceremony is minutes away. Recruits stand ready. Families shift for a better view. Hale inhales sharply, trying to regain himself. "Mom, I'm detaining you until I can verify." He stops. A shadow crosses them. A figure approaches with deliberate, heavy steps. Master Gunnery Sergeant Barnes. His face is pale, his eyes locked on Margaret's wrist. The tattoo is covered again, but he doesn't need to see it twice. He comes to a halt right beside Hale. "Captain," he says quietly, "you need to let her go." Hale frowns. On what authority? Barnes cuts him off, voice low as gravel. On the authority of someone who knows exactly who she is. Margaret's expression doesn't change, but a flicker of something recognition maybe crosses her eyes. The storm is gathering. Hale just hasn't realized he's standing in the center of it. Captain Hale turns toward Barnes, stunned by the tone he's never heard from the veteran Marine. Barnes doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't posture. He simply stands there, every line in his face carved with meaning. "Let her go, Captain," Barnes repeats. Calm. Controlled. Final. The kind of tone only earned through years of combat and the weight of knowing more than the man standing next to you. Hale's confusion hardens into irritation. "Gunny, unless you have..." Barnes cuts in again. "I have enough." "Sir." The "sir" lands like a warning, not respect. Before Hale can react, a sudden silence sweeps across the walkway. The kind of silence that doesn't grow, it drops. Heavy. Immediate. A black command vehicle rolls to a stop beside them. No lights, no sirens, just a slow, deliberate arrival that pulls every pair of eyes in the area toward it. Doors open at the same time, synchronized, precise. Colonel Marcus Reed steps out first, his uniform immaculate, his expression unreadable. Behind him, the depot sergeant major exits with the posture of a man who has lived through every possible scenario except this one. A junior major follows, carrying a thin folder as if it were classified material. And in a way it is. Captain Hale straightens instinctively. He salutes, voice cracking slightly. "Sir, Captain Hale." Reporting, Reed walks past him without acknowledgement. His boots hit the pavement with a rhythm that feels ceremonial. Each step lands like a verdict being delivered. He stops 3 feet in front of Margaret. For a heartbeat, nobody moves. Then Colonel Reed snaps into a perfect, razor-sharp salute. A salute so clean it could be a textbook illustration. A salute reserved for the highest acts of valor. Doc Margaret Cole. he says, voice carrying across the crowd. "It is an honor to welcome you back to this depot." The reaction is instant. Murmurs ripple, phones lower, parents freeze mid-step. Hale's face drains of color as if someone pulled a plug inside him. Reed lowers his hand, but stays at rigid attention. He turns slightly toward the cluster of families now gathering, unsure whether they're witnessing a ceremony or a reckoning. "For those who don't know," Reed announces, Margaret Cole served as a Navy corpsman during Operation Ironclad. On August 9, 2005, she performed actions that saved multiple Marines under direct enemy fire. Barnes stands behind him, head bowed slightly, not in shame, but in reverence. Reed gestures to the major. She opens the folder and hands him a single sheet, the citation. He reads, "While under rocket and machine gun fire, Petty Officer Cole entered a collapsing structure to reach wounded Marines. She provided life-saving treatment for over 3 hours, shielding casualties with her own body during repeated assaults. Her actions resulted in the survival of every Marine under her care." Reed pauses. The silence behind him feels like a collective breath held too long. Then he finishes. "For extraordinary valor, she received the Combat Valor Medal." A flicker of memory flashes across Margaret's eyes, dust, heat, rubble, a hand gripping hers as she fought to keep a Marine alive. She doesn't speak. Her stillness carries all the weight needed. From the parade deck, Eric Cole sees the entire scene unfold. He sees the command car. He sees the colonel salute his mother. He sees the truth he never knew crash into the present moment. His breath catches, but he doesn't break formation. Hale, meanwhile, looks like he's shrinking inside his own uniform. He forces out words, small and broken. "Sir, I didn't know." Reed turns to him with a stare that could crack stone. "That's the problem, Captain. You didn't know. Because you didn't look. You saw a civilian instead of a veteran, a mother instead of a corpsman. You acted without observing." Each line feels like a strike. Margaret finally speaks, her tone softer than Reed's, but sharper in meaning. "Captain, you follow rules. That's good. But rules don't replace judgment. And judgment begins with seeing the person in front of you." Hale swallows hard, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm sincerely sorry, Mom." Reed steps closer to him. "You will report to my office at 1400 hours. Bring a notebook. You and I are going to discuss leadership." The order hits Hale harder than any disciplinary action, not because of punishment but because he realizes who he failed to respect. Around them, the parade deck begins its final preparations. Drums warm up, commands echo, families shift into position. But the tone of the entire field has changed. Margaret stands quietly, her son still blocked from reaching her by formation rules, her past now unmistakably carved into the morning. Barnes gives her a slow nod, an old soldier's acknowledgement. Reed steps aside, allowing her space. And for the first time since Hale stopped her, Margaret's expression softens. The storm has broken, but its consequences are still unfolding. The ceremony begins only moments after the confrontation ends. Drums roll across the parade deck. Commands echo, sharp and synchronized. The platoons shift into motion, but the atmosphere has changed heavier, deeper, as if everyone present now knows they witnessed something rare. Margaret steps away from the restricted path under Colonel Reed's escort. Families watch her pass with quiet respect, unsure what to say, sensing she doesn't want attention. She walks with no prideful stride, just a steady calm, as if returning to a place she once knew too well. Reed guides her toward the reviewing stand, offering her a seat of honor near the front. She hesitates at first, but he nods once firm, not demanding. She sits, hands folded lightly, shoulders steady. Across the field, Eric Cole stands in formation, his chin lifted, eyes fixed straight ahead. But every few seconds, his gaze flicks toward the reviewing stand toward her. The truth about his mother hits him in waves. Shock, pride, disbelief. He holds the line, but a tremor of emotion shakes his breath. The announcer calls the platoons forward. Boots thunder in unison. The colors pass. Applause rises. But for Eric, the ceremony is a blur. His world has narrowed to one person, the mother he thought he knew, and the woman he is seeing for the first time. When the platoons are finally dismissed, Eric breaks into a controlled jog toward the stands. He weaves through families, scanning for her. Then he sees her step down, moving slowly between rows of proud parents. He stops a few feet away. "Mom, just one word." But it holds everything. Margaret turns. Her smile is small, tired, gentle. Eric moves forward and hugs her. Not a quick embrace, a long, trembling one, as if bridging years of questions he never knew to ask. "I didn't know," he whispers. "I know," she replies. "You weren't supposed to. This was your day." Eric pulls back, studying her face like it's a new language. "Why didn't you ever tell me what you did?" Margaret sighs softly, brushing dust from his sleeve. "Because some stories belong to the people who lived them, and because you needed to grow into the man who could hear them." Before Eric can speak again, someone clears their throat. Captain Hale stands a few steps away. His posture is rigid, but the arrogance is gone. He looks smaller without the certainty he always walked with. "Mom," he begins, voice steady but humbled. "I want to apologize. My conduct was unprofessional. Truly sorry." Margaret studies him, not judging, not pitying. "Captain, being wrong isn't failure. Staying wrong is." Her words land gently, but carry weight. Hale nods, swallowing hard. "I'll remember that," he says. Colonel Reed steps beside him, folding his arms. "He will. I'll make sure of it." Reed gives Margaret a respectful incline of his head. A training module for junior officers will be updated. Situational awareness, veteran interaction, making sure no one else assumes what you were assumed today. Margaret exhales slowly. "That's enough for me," she says. Families begin gathering for photos. Laughter blends with orders and camera shutters. The depot hums with celebration. But Reed notices Margaret glance toward the operations building with a look that's almost nostalgic and almost haunted. He steps closer. "Something on your mind, Doc?" She shakes her head lightly, just remembering. It's strange, hearing a citation spoken out loud again. Feels like reading someone else's story. Reed studies her a moment. "You saved men who went on to shape the Corps. Some of them still ask about you." Her eyes shift just enough to show a crack in her armor. "Some," she repeats quietly. "Not all." Eric looks between them, confused. "Mom? What does that mean?" Margaret doesn't answer right away. She watches the parade deck, young Marines hugging parents, shaking hands, stepping into the next chapter of their lives. She inhales, slow and steady. "There was someone in ironclad," she says at last. "A young sergeant. Badly wounded. I stayed with him for a long time." Her voice drops. "He survived, and then he disappeared." Eric frowns. "Disappeared?" Margaret nods. "He moved through the ranks fast. Too fast for me to ever track. Last I heard, he was heading to a command billet overseas. Maybe even a star on his collar now." Eric's eyes widen. "A general?" "Maybe," she says. "Maybe more." Reed's expression shifts knowingly. "You think he's still looking for you?" Margaret looks at her son, then at the distant barracks. "I know he is." A pause. "And when he finds me, that story will be harder to tell." Eric opens his mouth, but she lifts a hand gently. "Not today. Today belongs to you." She smiles. "But there are parts of my past you haven't heard. Parts that might matter to more people than you realize. If you enjoyed the story, consider sending a super chat to help bring more stories like this. Now, click on the video on the screen to hear another story that's just as powerful and captivating, with courage, sacrifice, and a choice that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about duty and justice.